Parents, we all know that moment. Our child suddenly covers their ears in a noisy restaurant. They have a meltdown at the grocery store or become overwhelmed by the tags on their clothing. While some might dismiss this as a behavioral issue or suggest that your child will grow out of it, what if these reactions instead were a sign of a much deeper challenge with your child's nervous system? What if understanding the neurological basis of overstimulation could unlock the answers that you've been searching for and finally provide a real, lasting solution for your child's sensory challenges? This video is for you parents whose children struggle with sensory overload and overstimulation. Whether doctors have given you a diagnosis like autism, ADHD, or a sensory processing disorder, or simply your child showing signs of easily overwhelmed environments, these challenges are anything but normal. We're going to explain overstimulation from a neurological perspective, and we're going to reveal how the perfect storm of factors can actually impact your child's nervous system in developing sensory processing disturbances. Most important, you're going to discover as a parent how neurologically focused chiropractic care can address the root cause of this challenge, not just masking the symptoms or providing you with more medications or therapies. Recently, the CDC has said that up to 40% of school-aged children are now suffering from a chronic health condition. Sensory processing issues are amongst the most common challenges that we're seeing. Traditional approaches, they're oftentimes avoiding triggers or managing symptoms, but the solutions miss the most important underlying neurological imbalance that creates this sensory overload. See, the medical system tends to view these challenges under separate diagnostic lenses. They look at autism, ADHD, anxiety, all as separate entities, instead of actually connecting the dots on why there's a common thread. There is nervous system dysregulation. See, the nervous system is what controls how the brain processes information from its environment. We're going to first focus on understanding overstimulation from a neurological perspective. You see, your nervous system is designed to adapt to its environment. This adaptability is something that you have naturally available to you. Overstimulation happens when the brain receives too much information and it puts itself into a protective mode, and it affects how the brain processes information. Think of it like a traffic jam, but in the nervous system, where the nervous system gets stuck and that jam causes the body to react abnormally. This abnormal reaction then causes your child to shut down. Now, depending on the severity of this traffic jam, sometimes it's the inability to adapt to a classroom, or it's an inability to adapt to a change at the grocery store, or it's a larger inability to process information, and those are the challenges that we're seeing. It's not just a behavioral challenge. It's your child's brain and nervous system that are no longer functioning properly. And this dysregulation, it's what's leading to these challenges that you're seeing today. The role of the autonomic nervous system is so important. The body's nervous system has two branches: fight and flight, which is the sympathetic nervous system, and then rest and digest, which is parasympathetic. Now, the body's designed to have a balance. It's like a vehicle, a gas pedal and a brake pedal. You want to have the ability to switch back and forth depending on the environment. Think of it like driving to work. You have to step on the gas pedal to accelerate, step on the brake pedal to stop. If your car is not functioning properly, there's going to be a dysregulation in what you need your vehicle to do and what it actually does. Talk about frustrating. Now let's put this in perspective for your child who's having to deal with this on a daily basis. In chiropractic, we look for interference in the spine and nervous system. See, your spine protects the most delicate structures of your nervous system that are a direct connection to the brain, to the body. Subluxation occurs when your child gets stuck in this sympathetic dominant state. Now, this causes a cascade of events because, again, your nervous system controls every organ system in the body. So when your body's stuck in sympathetic dominance, it's going to affect things like sleep, the body's ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. You're going to have a large number of digestive challenges because, again, when the sympathetic nervous system is stuck, it no longer allows the processing of digestive material. You're not absorbing nutrients. You're not eliminating toxins. So the body's natural release of toxins gets held within the body. And lastly, it causes emotional dysregulation. See, this dysregulation is not a problem with the child's behavior, but how the body adapts to its change in its environment. Now, this overstimulation can start from a cascade of events, something that we call the perfect storm. It can start as early as prenatal stress. Moms, think of how much stress you went under with your birth experience. Not just the emotional distress of how hard it is in our society to balance a career and a pregnancy, but then look at the chemical interference. When we look at this environment in our society, you're exposed to so many chemicals while you're growing a baby in the body. Now, finally, we look at birth trauma. Now, birth interventions, they're necessary at times, but they're used so commonly that we oftentimes ignore this. Whether there's a C-section, forceps, a vacuum extraction, these all create physical distress to the spine and developing nervous system. These things are being done so commonly that it's absolutely uncommon to have a normal vaginal delivery with no physical assistance, no chemical assistance, and in an emotionally free space. So these early stressors on a child will absolutely affect how their bodies adapt. Now when we look at this delicate individual, we're going to now place on more environmental stressors. Think of nutrition and food. Think of what they're wearing on their bodies, how much toxicity is in our environment. We are seeing today more chemicals being exposed to our bodies, and yet our bodies are not getting healthier. They're getting sicker. Now, there's some signs that your child is in an overstimulated and dysregulated state. These early symptoms are chalked up as normal because so many of you adults have these challenges that you just take over-the-counter medication for. Things like headaches or nausea, chronic fatigue. These are all indicators that the sympathetic nervous system is in a dysregulated, exhausted state. Emotional signs of this challenge start with irritability. They can move to anxiety or emotional outbursts. Now, this is where when you've tried all the traditional charts, you've tried the essential oils, you're going to functional medicine. These are things that if they're not working, it shows that it's more of a neurological distress. See, this is where when you offer a quiet space, you offer something that doesn't help, you have to look at a different focus, a different perspective. Neurologically focused chiropractic care helps. This is a branch of chiropractic care that is very specific to children. And it starts first with measuring how the nervous system's performing. Now, we use the insight scans to identify stress in the nervous system. We can measure and identify where the stress resides. We can understand what parts of the spine are out of their normal alignment. And then we can offer precise, very specific adjustments to help relieve that sympathetic dominant stress. See, there's certain vertebrae in your spine that protect and modulate different segments of the nervous system. When you use those insight scans, you can identify stress. We use an HRV scan to understand the balance and performance of the autonomic nervous system. If your child's nervous system is stuck in a sympathetic dominant state, we can see that. When we use thermography, we identify levels of inflammation, seeing where in the spine there is acute and chronic distress. We use a surface EMG, which is electromyography, to measure the overall tone and balance and performance of the neuromuscular system, which is responsible for holding that spine in an upright position. Now, the adjustments also activate the parasympathetic system to allow for better regulation. That's regulation of sleep, regulation of emotions, regulation of digestion. When the body's regulating its performance better, now the body can adapt, it can heal. When we address the root cause rather than just managing symptoms, the body's able to start healing. See, when you manage symptoms, there's a lot of issues with this. Let's go on one side with medication. When you're managing symptoms with medication, the body still has that underlying neurological stress. Now, the symptoms may be more manageable, but it's based on a chemical interference. Now the body still has to heal from the illness inside, as now it also has to balance between chemicals being ingested or inhaled, which causes more distress. You have to remember that chemicals in kids, they don't mix. You don't want to inhale chemicals. You don't want to ingest chemicals, and you sure do not want to inject chemicals into the body. These chemicals will react in a very delicate environment. Now, if you're tired of watching your child struggle with these sensory overloads and you're ready to address the real root cause of the challenges, then it's time to explore something new. It's time to explore neurologically focused chiropractic care. At Maximize Chiropractic, we use the state-of-the-art technology called the Insight Scans. We use these scans to identify where there is stress in the nervous system and where specifically your child needs support. We use these scans to create a customized care plan that targets their specific needs. The first step is really to start diving deeper. Finding lasting change is to measure first how your child's nervous system is regulated, and then from there understanding its adaptability through the neurologically focused insight scans that we offer at the office. These scans are non-invasive, they're gentle, and they can be done with your child sitting right next to you or even in your lap. This is where we can see where their sensory system is lacking its adaptability, and we can understand how to get them reconnected. How and where the stress resides is incredibly important to observe and then to re-measure so that we can see the objective changes. Visit the link in our bio, comment below, or give our office a call. I want to help your child experience the world without having them overwhelmed and distressed by the environment.